So this week we started a brand new cohort in a program we have called Dev 30. It's 30 days of JavaScript and building in public. And if I'm being honest, the more difficult part of this 30 days is not the JavaScript, it's the building in public. And you've probably heard online that you need to network or you need to build in public. And it's kind of just nebulous and cloudy, right? Like, what does that mean exactly? Like, do I just share what I'm doing? Kind of. So what I want to do here is go through how you can build in public successfully from somebody who's done it a couple times. I've been on multiple platforms from YouTube to Instagram to LinkedIn to whatever, Twitter at one point, and I've gotten anywhere from, 30,000 to a few thousand followers on every single platform I've gone to using a strategy which I'm going to talk to you about today for free. I think this is really a cool way to network and find people. I didn't take this seriously at first, honestly. I thought, what is this junk about building in public? Like, I'm a software engineer. Why do I need to like do this social media stuff? It's just dumb. And if you think it's dumb, fine, turn it off and just go back to whatever you're doing. But if your goal is to get hired quicker and learn faster, then building in public is a tried and true way to do this. I'm not just saying this because I've done it or because I like being on social media. I'm saying this because I know it works. And there's books written on this. There's much smarter people than me, people way smarter than me that are saying the exact same thing. So it leads me to believe that it's true. So how do you actually learn in public and why would you want to? Learning in public's not about just chasing likes. It's about having some accountability, working on your communication skills, which is paramount if you want to become a software engineer, especially if you're going to be remote. You want to be discovered in a sea of people that are talking online and junior developers, boot camp grads from top-notch colleges that are having a ton of trouble getting hired right now. It's not just software engineers, it's not just marketers, it's not just salespeople, it's not just people in the legal profession. Everybody is finding the job market constricting, being a little tighter than it used to be. This is nothing new. This goes in phases and waves, but I think the shock now is that people that are graduating prestigious colleges are having a ton of trouble getting hired. So how do you stand out among these people? They need to do this just as much as the person that graduated from, no-name university or from some no-name boot camp needs to do as well. This is something that Zubin and I believe is your secret sauce in the world of getting hired in tech or just getting hired in general. So one, if you're writing online, it's just writing. And what you do as a software engineer is basically just writing. There's still emails to write. There's still things that you have to explain to non-technical people. There's code reviews and peer reviews that you need to do on a daily basis. And there's just the art of writing in general is a skill that you don't want to just offload to a machine just yet. Your greatest differentiator is this, as cheesy as this sounds, is that you are you. There's not many of you out there, right? There's one of you. So lean into this, lean into your humanness, lean into your humanity instead of trying to offload all your thoughts into Chat GPT, which will give you the most generic responses known to man. Of course, there are times when using it is preferable, like if you're talking about something really boring, or you're trying to summarize some sort of email thread or something like that. These are great times to use ChatGPT. But if you're trying to stand out online, you absolutely cannot use ChatGPT to write your content for you. I've tried it. It's horrible. I've seen people do it. We can tell it sucks. Don't do that. Right. And when you start writing online, you're probably going to feel like, oh my God, everybody's writing online. The people in Dev 30, they're probably following other people that are writing online. They're seeing other junior developers or people learning to code right online. And they're thinking, well, who wants to listen to me? Right? What do I know? This is what's known as the red car phenomenon. It's when you buy a car, let's say you buy a red car, right? Big fancy developer cruising around town in your big red car, right? And you look around and you start noticing other people have red cars. You're like, damn, I didn't know all these people had red cars. I thought I was special, right? And now because having this red car is at the forefront of your consciousness, you're conscious of it and you're starting to see it other places because you're looking for the thing that you're thinking about. So remember that 99.9% of people that are online aren't writing at all. And the only way that you can stand out is to be consistent because the majority of people might start, but the majority will not actually continue. I remember writing online for 7 years. I've wrote online for 7 years on Medium, a platform where you can publish articles. And I wrote on there because I just like writing. I just genuinely enjoy writing. I never had a big hit until recently when I had an article blow up beyond belief and got me like thousands or tens of thousands of likes. It made me a few $100. and I was blown away. It was about making money. I usually write about code stuff, and then I wrote an article about sobriety and something about making money online. Of course, these are topics that reach a more generic audience, and they just blew up, took off like wildfire. And after 7 years, those are the two articles that catapulted me. I was on Instagram. I was on there for 2 years, and I had very, very little success. I made a few customers. I made one reel. That one reel got me 10,000 followers. And then since then, I kind of abandoned Instagram, if I'm being honest. LinkedIn. I was on LinkedIn for years, writing a little bit here and there. I was on there for about a year. Then I skyrocketed with two reposts from two much bigger developers, Kyle Simpson, and I forget who the other person was, but they both like basically reposted me, and that just catapulted me beyond belief. So what I'm saying is be consistent, because there's no like quick fix to this. You're not going to get a million followers overnight. You're not going to get a job overnight. It's just who can be consistent, who can outlast their fears, who can outlast their competition. These are the people that are going to be poised to win. And we're going to get into like exactly how you should be writing. And I have some templates that are also in the show notes that you can grab, because I'd love to see more of you writing on LinkedIn. And if you do use them, don't credit me, because you don't want people to know that you're using templates probably, but they're totally fine to use. And if you want to use them, be my freaking guest. I love templates. It helped me get my noggin jogging and able to focus on the content rather than how I'm structuring it. So pick a platform, right? When you want to start learning in public, we know now why learning in public is important. It's important because you're going to work on your communication skills. It's going to set you apart. It's going to potentially set you up for social media stardom if that's what you really want. Or more importantly, it's going to make you discoverable, because there's so many people out there that are trying to remain anonymous and afraid to expose their knowledge or expose their lack of knowledge or expose what they're working on, that if you're doing that, you're going to naturally just stand out, and you're going to meet people. You're going to meet like-minded people, and you're going to create a network of people without really trying to. You're going to just naturally have this network effect take place. So where do you do this at? You could do it on X. You could do it on Blue Sky. You could do it on YouTube. You could do it anywhere you feel like. I'm super biased. I've had the most luck on LinkedIn, and I'm going to tell you why I strongly recommend you do LinkedIn. It's because it's not anonymous, which means there's way less trolling than there is on platforms like X, where you have like complete randos just telling you how much you suck or how much you don't know anything about JavaScript. Even if you're somebody like Kyle Simpson, I've seen him just get ripped apart on platforms like X. And I'm like, why? Hot takes sell. And on LinkedIn, at least, you're not anonymous. So your hot take is a little less hot. Employers also hang out on LinkedIn. So this is probably where you want to be. It's also just easier to stand out. Let's be honest. LinkedIn is not really known for like being the big social media giant. No one's like looking at LinkedIn on the weekend, really. So it's a lot easier to stand out there because you don't have a lot of competition. So do not chase likes. A person told me this a while ago: likes ain't cash, and likes ain't jobs either, right? Because I've seen people get a ton of likes that have been unemployable for years. There was a dude that I used to follow years ago, and he used to talk about how he just got rejected from every job in the tri-state area. And at first you felt bad for him. You're like, oh no, shucks. We're in this pandemic, and here's this young guy trying to get a job, and man, no one will hire him. After about the 10th time, you start thinking, maybe there's something wrong with this dude. Even if there's not. He got tons of likes, tons of engagement. I haven't seen him around since, but he never seemed to be able to get hired. Don't go chasing likes. You are not in this game for likes, but I will tell you how you can get them and how you can expand your social network if that's your goal. If your goal is getting hired, which I hope it is, rather than becoming a social media influencer, don't try to just engage for the sake of engagement. Rage bait, clickbait, these will get views and likes, and you'll get a bunch of people that are like-minded that are probably also unemployed and unhappy, and they won't be able to help you out. They'll just be able to help you commiserate, which is not what you want. You want to gain allies, right? And you want to gain people in your network that can actually help you out, right? So here's some topics that you can talk about that have a high return on investment. Interesting problems you encounter. For example, if you're in a program like Parsity, Inner Circle, and you're saying, man, this week I'm really struggling with learning use state, use context, and React, and here's my understanding of it, and here's how I've made this app, and here's what I'm doing to use and learn these tools. And I know it's a long road ahead of me. What are some ways that you've found to learn this if you're a software developer with a couple years experience? Now you're inviting people with years of experience to comment on your things, and you're actually making some positive engagement. You could talk about an app you're building. So if you're building something, which you should be, right? You have a side project. This is a great time to talk about the problems you're encountering, saying, wow, I thought launching my app would give me 100 users. I'm at 0. How do people get users to come to their platforms and trust them enough to put in a password? This is something I'm really interested in. What advice might you have? And you're going to get advice from people that are probably a couple steps ahead of you that are saying, I had the same problem. Boom. This can lead to interesting conversations. This can also lead to you sliding in their DM in a super non creepy way and leading to actual in life conversations or talking about things that might take you off the platform and into an interview, for example, or cool features you're working on. You can talk about a feature that you're working on for a project, school project, an app you're working on. These are all high return on investment topics, right? And then you can also post code. There was a couple students at Parsity where I was like, I might post a code snippet of this because if you're brave, because it might get torn apart, right? People might look at it and be like, this is stupid. What an idiot, you know? Or you could actually end up getting into a conversation with somebody. Little anecdote for you. A woman that worked with me a few years ago that we hired, the CTO found her because she posted a code snippet to solve a common algorithm on LinkedIn. It was wrong. She posted the wrong answer and he said, that's not right. You should look at this line or something. She fixed it, sent him back a message and said, hey, I fixed it. Thank you so much for pointing that out to me. He ended up saying, hey, you know what? I really appreciate that you did that and I'm impressed. Why don't you come in for an interview? We're actually hiring. Ended up hiring her. She was one of the best software developers I've ever worked with, and I really enjoyed working with her. Super great person, and it was a really cool story when I found out that's how she actually got to the interview. So now that you have a plan, a strategy, and maybe using some of the templates that I've linked below in the show notes, now you're out there writing, you're putting yourself out there, you're talking about topics with high return on investment. Now it's time to really turn on your networking gears, right? Networking isn't just like some stupid buzzword. It is, well, it is kind of a stupid buzzword, isn't it? But it's just making friends online. If you just think about that, it's like when your mom dropped you off at school as a kid and you were scared and you wanted to hide in the corner, you cried or whatever. Or maybe that was just me. I don't know. Maybe I was just a weird, shy little boy. But maybe we're all a little like this. It feels weird meeting strangers, right? And especially ones that you're online with. You're like, well, these aren't real people. These are just online. I've made a ton of friends online and I never took this stuff seriously, but I've made business deals, made friends. I have Zubin, who's my business partner and a friend who I met online and I've met in real life now. He lives all the way in Australia and I'm in California. We met in Los Angeles, California to eat. And then next thing you know, we're in business together after a year of talking. It's crazy the power of the internet. So use it to your advantage. You can scale yourself X amount of times on the internet, way more than you could ever do in person. If you're not using it for this purpose, I think you're really missing out, especially if your intention is to get hired or to have impact and influence outside of your small bubble. So how do you create a network and how do you do it without being weird? First of all, follow people that are in the same field as you or in a field you want to be in. If you're following nothing but influencers, you're just going to get sold stuff, right? You're going to be sold stuff by people like me, for example. I'm going to be, oh, you should come to Parsity or something like that. I also write a lot of like heavy tech content, I'd say maybe kind of light tech content, but ideally you should be following a healthy mix of like, small amount of influencers, mostly people that are in the industry. And how do you find these people? You go through the comments section every influencer and you look who's hired or who's hiring or who's open to work, whoever you think is interesting and has a good comment, and just follow that person. This is LinkedIn, right? So this is not like Instagram or some other weird app where it'd be really weird to follow people you don't know. This is completely normal to do. So find people that are in the same genre, the same niche, the same field, follow them, look through the comments of influencer posts to find these people. And now, voila, now you have a network that you've just curated just by going through the comment section, right? That leads me to commenting as a strategy. So maybe you're shy, like most developers and most people in general, right? Developers tend to be even more shy for whatever reason. So if you don't want to like quote unquote learn public or post content a lot and you're freaking out about it, you can just leave comments. Like that's a great way to start, but leave something useful. Like there are people that just go around commenting like, I agree. And I'm like, thanks. Hey, I'm happy to be agreed with, you know what I'm saying? I'm not hating that. But you know what's even more helpful? If somebody writes something like, yeah, that's an interesting take you had, but I actually think this. Or, oh, I never thought about doing that. I've been doing X thing that you said this way, but now I might try this way. Very interesting. Do you have any more information you could give me about this particular thing? Now, here's the thing. This has to be genuine because people can smell when you're disingenuous, right? When you just write like chat GPT generated junk, people like totally know. It's like, oh, Well, that's not you really feeling like that. Do you really care that I called this var instead of constant? You're acting like it's a big deal. Like, you just try to use your head, be a human first and a networker second. Networking should feel natural in general. Like, so you should be commenting on things that you actually are interested in. And this can lead to actual conversations because people love to talk about themselves. So, rule number one is when you slide into somebody's DM or you leave a comment, either ask them something relating to themselves or share how what they just told helped you, or maybe offer them something else to like stretch the conversation, basically to add on to the conversation. So there's good comments and there's forgettable comments. A good comment would be like, "Oh, that's a really interesting take. I would love to learn more about this. Do you have like anywhere that you might recommend I look?" A forgettable comment would be, "I agree." Now, here's the part where you go from comment to DM. Never ask for a favor, ever. Do you know how many people are in my DMs? Like all the time. And you know what they ask for? They say, "Hey, Brian, dude, I don't know. Person I've never met in my life. Could you look at my resume for me? Look at my resume, give me some feedback, and then can I apply to a job at your place?" And I'm like, I don't know you. They say, "Oh, please, my mother's sick and my brother is in jail and I need a job really bad." I'm like, I don't know you. You know what I mean? As bad as your story might be, I have zero clue who you are. It's a strange way to start a conversation with somebody and ask for something off the bat. Imagine if you were in a party somewhere and you're not a total weirdo and you walk up to somebody at that party and the first thing they say after you say, "Hey, nice to meet you," you say, "Can you give me a job?" And they're like, "Ooh," and they just walk out the party, right? Because you just freaked them out. So networking, first of all, don't be weird. Always offer something first. Say, "Hey, I saw what you wrote yesterday. I really enjoyed that a lot. Here's an article I think you might find interesting or useful. Here's a book recommendation. Here's a link to something I think that you might find useful." It creates goodwill. This time, the next time you follow up with a conversation or something like that, and you do have an ask, and it's not too weird of an ask, the person is way more likely to respond. And networking doesn't just have to be done with strangers online, by the way. If you really are opposed to being online, just network with your family and friends. There's a thing called 7 degrees of separation. I don't know if this is an old school thought or an old school like phrase that nobody uses anymore. My mom used to tell me there's 7 degrees of separation between you and Will Smith. And she read that in some article or something in the 90s. Anyway, there's a network, right? You have a network. The people that you're closest to are in your first party connections, your mom, father, uncle, brothers, cousins, whatever. Your second party connections are the people that they know. The third party connections are the people that they know. So if you stretch this out 7 degrees in this graph, you basically are connected to everybody in the world at some level. Ideally, I don't know. I don't know how true this is or not. This is probably easily debunkable, but whatever. The reality is, though, you're not going to get to the third party that well. You're going to probably get to your second party connection. So make a list of people in your family and friends and people that you think might be able to, even if they work at a warehouse or work at McDonald's, I don't care. And to say, "Hey, do you know anybody that works in software? Cool. Do you mind setting up a conversation with me with them for like 15 minutes?" And they could say either yes or no. And then when you talk to that person, say, "Hey, is there anybody else you'd recommend that I speak to that might be hiring or could be worth speaking to?" That's a third party connection. You're not going to find any opportunities in the first party. You're going to find them in the second and third. And you'd be shocked who you don't know that you know. Because I literally used to work at a warehouse, and the guy that ended up hiring me was a manager at the company that used to work for somebody that I knew at the warehouse. It's just wild turn of events. I was like, dude, this is crazy. You remember he called up the dude I used to work with and just asked him, "Hey, was Brian a normal dude? Was he on time?" And he said, "Yeah, he was always on time." And I was. And that actually was the deal breaker. That was the deal sealer right there. He's like, "Oh, well, that seals the deal. He's hired." Pretty crazy, right? So I think we've gone over enough information on like how to be not super cringy on a platform like LinkedIn, how to actually lean into your humanity to be a normal person. So when you're talking online, it doesn't come across really weird or just fake. And then how to actually network without being super weird. I really hope this is helpful because I see this as the big differentiator in 2025 and beyond because there's so much AI robot madness going on. We have AI bots speaking to AI recruiters, which are filtering out resumes using AI. Companies are having trouble finding good candidates, despite what you may have been reading or heard, because of this weird AI, dance we're having where we have AI talking to AI using AI in the middle to filter out other AI. And what you're ending up with is a pool of subpar candidates or people that just aren't the right fit for the job. And I'm seeing this. I think we're all seeing this. The only winner in this game appears to be LinkedIn. So if you're just going on LinkedIn and just blindly applying, you're doing it wrong. Straight up. I think that's one way you could do it. It's like playing the lottery. Somebody will win by sheer volume and luck. But if you don't want to depend on luck or just sheer volume, I think you're going to need to adopt this kind of strategy. I stand by this. I use this strategy. I would never tell you to do something I'm not doing my freaking self. So, hope that's helpful. And if you do want to join Parsity, you should do so now. We have 5 spots open for the month of February, and I can almost guarantee you they'll be going quick, much quicker than I ever anticipated. I'm really excited to be partnering with Zubin, who's a former Google engineer and also just a wonderful person. He has a really cool way of working with people that want to get into code that doesn't just involve learning to code. It involves a lot of like personal development to make sure you are the kind of person that will succeed in this field as far and as well as all the tactical networking strategies and all that other stuff that we know you just need, right? It's not just all like foo-foo type of like mental exercises and stuff. You need to learn how to write professional grade code from people that have done it professionally. So hope that's helpful, and I will see you around.